Well, I just barely made it under the wire. You thought I was going to be late, didn't you? Uh, Today I've been organizing some things in preparation for a couple of presentations that I'm going to do for the Canadian, or I believe it's the Grand Lodge of British Columbia Masons, that I'm going to do a little later. And so I'm gathering up things and material that I haven't looked at in a long time. Now, several years ago, quite a few years ago, over 10, uh, I was honored to speak at the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York. And about the same time, I was involved and was a contributor of and a teacher of, I guess you could call it, at Robert Anton Wilson's Maybe Logic Academy. It was sort of, at the time, a cutting edge, new new technology online academy with I was probably the biggest, putz on the panel. But part of my one of my Maybe Logic Academy series was on the Thoth Tarot, and especially how it relates to Kabbalah and things like that. And I ran across a little ditty here. It's called "The Ten of Discs is Screwed." Excerpt from Lon Milo DuQuette's Maybe Logic Academy course, Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot. I'm not sure if that course is still available, since Bob's death. But anyway, I'm going to share that with you this morning. The first thing we must keep in mind when discussing all the cards of the Thoth Tarot is that their images are modeled to a lesser or greater degree upon those of the Golden Dawn. In fact, I don't think it's too much of an exaggeration to say that the Thoth Tarot is a hybrid of the Golden Dawn Tarot. This is especially evident in the court cards and small cards. The original Golden Dawn deck was never printed or published. It was, in all likelihood, designed by S.L. Mathers and painted by his wife, Moynia. It was loaned to members of the Golden Dawn who were obliged to make their own copies, no matter how funky. To my knowledge, the original deck has been lost in the mists of time, but there are several fine modern versions of the Golden Dawn deck currently available that appear to be faithful representations of surviving descriptions. If you don't already have one, I encourage you to get your hands on one and study it vis-a-vis the cards of the Thoth Tarot. An important feature of my book, Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot, is the inclusion of a description of the Golden Dawn model at the very beginning of my comments on the individual cards. So I'm going to encourage you to acquaint yourself with that material rather than dwelling on it here. Now I'd like us to do something else, so I hope you're reasonably comfortable with the method of the madness of how small cards get their elemental, zodiacal, and planetary qualities. I go in previous lessons. How their divinatory characters are the result of these factors. In other words, the Ten of Discs, the assignment of a planet to the particular decan of the zodiac, would be Mercury in Virgo, and it's the last 10 degrees of Virgo, and it's a 10, and a 10 is a Malkuth, with all the attributes, Kabbalistic attributes of Malkuth, and it's Malkuth in Asaya, the lowest of the Kabbalistic worlds, and it has its Kabbalistic characteristics. So the planet, the zodiac sign, the Sephiroth of the Tree of Life, and the card's suit are all factors in the equation of what goes to make up the general divinatory meaning. But I digress. Okay, so I hope you at least have a moderately firm grasp on the nature of the Kabbalistic world each of the suits represents. Discs are the material world, Asaya, the environment of consciousness that manifests as matter and material objects, like our example, and I give the example of a chair. In more religious-sounding terms, this is the body of God, manifest creation itself. Swords are the world of the intellect, Yetzirah, the environment of consciousness wherein dwell the mental images and patterns, the idea of a chair, in other words. In more religious terms, the mind of God. Cups are the creative world, Braya, the environment of consciousness that creates profound and universal concepts like our need to get off our feet now and then. In more religious terms, the heart and soul of God. Wands are the archetypal world, Atzilith, the highest, most universal level of consciousness. An environment that gets to the root of what chairs are all about, the pure concept of rest. In more religious terms, the will of God. Every aspect of existence and being has its proper place within this fourfold structure. If we want to get biblical sounding about all of this, we could personify these ascending and descending divisions of energies, forces, and consciousness as celestial personages, such as seraphim, cherubim, archangels, angels, and finally us. As a matter of fact, that's just what Kabbalists and Kabbalistic magicians do. But one needn't be a card-carrying magician to respect and appreciate the simplicity and elegance of this particular way of looking at things, and how clearly it is expressed in tarot. So, if I may impose upon you to separate the small cards from the others and assemble them in a Kabbalistic ladder made up of 4 trees of life, as I've illustrated below, like that, a ladder of small cards. You don't have to, I did all the work for you. Okay. Would that be so? Take a good look at your layout of cards and notice how the 2s and 3s are almost always sublimely cool. And the 5s and the 8s and the 4s and the 7 run the risk of being real clunkers because of their unbalanced position on their respective trees. Notice how the 6s are universally wonderful, and so are most of the 9s. Notice especially that the 10s, all but the 10 of discs, wealth, are difficult cards. Okay, so let's just remind where all of that comes from. The 2s and 3s are almost always very cool. But the things off to the side there, the 5 and the 8 and the 4 and the 7, really can run the risk of being weird because they're off balance there. But the 1 or the 6 and 9 are usually very good because they're right there in the middle. And the 10s are usually difficult. The 10 of Wands is difficult because it just doesn't want to get out of that world. I'm losing myself, oh no. And the 10 of Cups is difficult, and the 10 of Swords is, whoa, very difficult. But the 10 of Discs is called Wealth, and it's really, really cool. Okay. And if we're thinking in terms of court cards, it would be the princesses of every suit that sort of take that role of the 10, okay, because they're both the earth thing. Okay, imagine, if you will, that the cards literally spring one to another in a tumbling cascade of descending light. The Ace of Wands at the very top is the source, pure light of supreme consciousness. It's the ultimate reality behind all the realities. But as the pure light appears to descend down the ladder of the Tree of Wands, it becomes more and more obscure, as if passing through optical filters. And the light frequency slows down step by step until we find the poor 10 of Wands trodden down by the momentum of ever-dimming light. The 10 of Wands feels like its title, oppression. If it could, the 10 of Wands could stop the descent right here and imprison the light before it abandons the world of Wands. But the remaining light does not escape. The remaining light does escape the 10 of Wands and the world of Wands, and finds a bright welcome in the world of Cups. A world that thrives on joyfully receiving light as much as the world of Wands delighted in projecting it. By the time the light has filtered down to the 10 of Cups, the world of Cups is gloriously full and bloated. As a matter of fact, the 10 of Cups is called satiety. Bloated satiety spills the remaining light onto the head of the Ace of Swords, the next level down. How dull the pure light becomes by the time it passes through the gate of the world of Swords, so much so that each level of the suit, the individual cards attempt to capture and shut the light into conduits of energy and mold it into shapes, patterns, and ideas. As if the illimitable light could be analyzed, defined, and trapped in form. The death throes of the 10 of Swords is even more tragic than that of the 10 of Wands. But at least the light has somewhere to go. It leaves the suit of Swords, and it drips down to the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Discs. The light slows and crystallizes in the suit of discs, E equals mc squared, and becomes the darkness of matter. Of course, it looks to all of us whose consciousness is rooted in this world to be the light of creation itself. The tapestry of earthly life plays out on the tree of life until, and I've got this all in caps, the climax of the descent of matter reaches the nadir of the ladder of creation in the 10 of Discs. The 10 of Discs is just to remind you, if I can find it quickly enough, the 10 of Discs is where the show stops. The miracle of the Ten of Discs. The Ten of Discs is at the bottom of the small card barrel. There's nowhere for the dark, broken dregs of the pristine light to go from there. No lower number than 10. No suit lower than Earth. It's the last daisy in the universal daisy chain. And I like it in my book to cosmic constipation. A vulgar but very accurate description of its predicament. Look how it's going. Oh God, I'm swelling up there. Oh no, my clothes don't fit this morning. Okay. But is it an unhappy card? Just look at it. The Tree of Life made of coins. And the last coin, Malkuth, number 10, is the biggest, fattest coin of all. Now I'm referring to the Thoth Tarot, and which I couldn't grab this morning for some reason, but this is our own deck that has the same characteristics. The Ten of Disc is happy because it's the lowest of the low. It's the climax of the descent of matter. It's the climax of the descent of matter. The 10 holds the secret of redintegration by spirit. These are all quotes by Crowley, and redintegration means return to its former estate. In other words, it's the climax of the descent of matter is the signal for the redintegration by spirit. That's the quote. So redintegration is return to the former estate, and in our particular discussion here, I'm going to show you the thing again one more time. Okay, 10 of Discs. The climax of the descent of matter signals the redintegration by spirit, and redintegration, return to the former state, and the former state we're talking about is the very beginning. This is how and where and from where the whole thing starts over again. Just like a star that has built up, that has grown so old that it collapses upon itself. The climax of the descent of matter is where it all collapses under its own gravitational forces, and it hits, everything hits the lowest thing it possibly can. What is it? Iron. And then it blows up into a supernova. And that supernova has all the potential parts of that used to be that star, and it seeds those elements into hydrogen clouds to form new stars, brand new baby stars. The climax of the descent of matter signals the redintegration by spirit. Okay. Ten of Discs is happy because it's the lowest of the low, the climax of the descent of matter. The Ten holds the secret of redintegration by spirit, the secret of returning the universe and ourselves to our former estate. Back in an earlier lesson, and remember this is maybe Logic Academy lesson, when discussing the Hermit card, I quoted Crowley. Virgo represents the lowest, most receptive, most feminine form of Earth and forms the crust over Hades. Yet, not only is Virgo ruled by Mercury, but Mercury is exalted therein. Crowley quote, compare the Ten of Discs, the general doctrine that the climax of the descent of matter is the signal for the redintegration by spirit. That's the original quote by Crowley from the Book of Thoth. He says again, it is the formula of the princess. Earth of Earth. It is the formula of the princess, the mode of fulfillment of the great work. And then earlier I asked them to write down 2 sentences in their notebook along with this quote. Mercury, Earth, and the Sun are the 3 cosmic players responsible for creating the mode of fulfillment of the great work. Mercury, Earth, and the Sun. Recall that the hermit carries the sun in his lamp. These 3 sentences describe nothing less than the secret inner processes of creation. Not only the creation of human life, but the creation of consciousness and being. They come together in the last and lowest card of the tarot, the Ten of Discs, a card Crowley calls the hieroglyph of the cycle of regeneration. In my book, I tell the story of how the Ten of Discs literally jump-starts the cycle of regeneration, how the Ten of Discs creates from itself the Ace of Wands and starts the whole process of creation all over again. Please carefully review that material. Mercury and Earth, Hermes, penetrating the crust over Hades, to rescue Persephone, the daughter of Demeter, to regenerate life on Earth with the yearly return of the sun. Ten of Discs, Mercury in Virgo. The lowest, most receptive, and most feminine form of Earth. It's no coincidence that the allotment of planets to the small cards starts at 0 degrees Leo with the 5 of Wands. How else would the last of the small cards, the Ten of Discs, be allotted? The divine Mercury in its last decade of Virgo. And as I point out in the book, the true secret fertilizing ingredient in this most special small card recipes, the ingredient that is not apparent to the uninitiated, is the sun. The sun carried as the lamp in Virgo hermit's hand. And hand equals yod equals sperm. In the Ten of Discs, the Earth in its lowest, most receptive, most feminine form is screwed by Hermes Mercury, whose wand is a conduit, a hollow tube carrying the fire of the sun. Mercury may penetrate, but the sun fertilizes, and life begins anew. The story is there for all who have eyes to see in the painted cardstock of the Thoth Tarot. And that's where I ended that talk. I just want to remind you that in the Thoth Tarot, the sun, okay, the Mercury in Virgo is already apparent, and the tenness is already there. But the invocation of the sun is also incorporated in the placement of the symbols, the mercurial symbols of that are on each of the Sephiroth of the Tree of Life. They all have symbols, or at least symbols that Lady Harris considered mercurial symbols, in all 10 of the Sephiroth of the Tree of Life, except one, and that's in the Mercury Sephiroth itself, Hod, number 8. And she implants not a symbol of Mercury, but a symbol of the sun in Mercury's own sphere. But anyway, I know that might have been a little complicated for everybody, but this is a lifelong study. And that's all I have time for today. This has been our hump day. Hope you've enjoyed it enough. It's finally cooled down. But it'll be hot again next week, they say. Anyway, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. Oh, by the way, you might not recognize me tomorrow because Constance is insisting that she give me, she says I'm looking too shaggy. So be ready for a new me in the morning. Bye-bye.